Today on the Topping Show, Matt Walsh reacts to Karmelo Anthony's speaker saying that the victim's dad was disrespectful coming to the event. A person walks right past someone who is stabbed while filming holding a Starbucks and goes viral for the disrespect. The White House corrects the New York Times about gang members being deported. The UK police tell citizens that telling other people to speak English is a possible hate crime. The Nissan GTR will be coming back as a hybrid. And Fisher Price recalls some of their toys due to a child choking hazard. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny rail adapter, so you can mount it to any standard AR-15 like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower. Lastly, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, you have the Nissan GTR coming back, but it'll be apparently a hybrid. For all 13 people who want a Nissan GTR, that's a hybrid. Now, this comes with thanks to Joel, who's a writer at thedrive.com. And they say, quote, confirmed, next Nissan GTR will be a hybrid and arrive in 3 to 5 years. Well, presuming that Nissan is still in business in 3 to 5 years. They say the Nissan America boss exclusively tells the Drive that an all-electric GTR can't deliver the performance it needs as a flagship sports car. But yes, most driving enthusiasts love hybrids. Yeah. Now here you can see the previous GTR, which no longer is being created, and unfortunately only ever came with a automatic transmission, which if you're a diehard, track enthusiast or you love driving, yeah, most people want 3 pedals. That's why people like Porsche, they listen to their consumers, but I partially digress. Now, diving into the article again, credit to Joel Feder. They say, quote, at the 2025 New York Auto Show, Senior Vice President and Chief Planning Officer of Nissan North America, Pons, exclusively told the Drive about the R36 GTR, but this time the executive provided a timeline, dove into a revised powertrain plans for the next generation supercar, and talked about project requirements. It's been decided that the next GTR will be a hybrid after all, rather than a pure all-battery sports car. We should see it by the end of the decade, which, yeah, good luck finding batteries and taking care of that reliability issues years later. Now, they say, quote, in April 2024, he confirmed that GTR nameplate wouldn't die despite the R35 nearing the end of the life cycle and production ramping up. At the time, he said the powertrain for the next GTR wasn't locked in yet, but added Formula E, an electric racing series, to test is a test bed for the supercar. In July 2024, Nissan's now CEO, Ivan, told Top Gear that with electric vehicles, the acceleration out of the corner is far quicker than a combustion engine car, and the level of control is much higher. And he said with the he did note that with a GTR, this would be a good thing since it's a car that's easy to drive on the track because the system it has, we can deliver the same experience in the EV, unquote, for 1 lap before you have to recharge it, or never, 2 laps maybe. Now they say, quote, the world has changed in a year, and so of the plans, it seems to have been telegraphed that the next generation GTR, Godzilla, won't be electric, it will be a hybrid. Now, he continues saying that Nissan built some electric prototypes for the next generation GTR, but, quote, basically, it's like it would complete 1 lap at the Nuremberg ring, and then you have to recharge the car. And that charging is going to take you a while, so it's not just authentic. Yeah, it's trash for that use case. Well, most use cases I would argue, but nevertheless, he continues saying, quote, excuse me, you just built a thing to check the box that you have a GTR that's not really a GTR. No electric, I don't think it'll deliver the technology that we have now, or even with a solid-state battery, the kind of performance you expect out of a GTR. He reiterated that he has in the past that a GTR has performance targets that are requiring to make it authentic. Those objectives include being able to set lap records at Nuremberg. The exec made sure to mention how the R35 GTR once bested the Porsche 911, the lap at the legendary track multiple times at the speed. He continues saying, quote, hybrid technology, EV battery technology is not yet to deliver that kind of supercar, unquote. Nissan's executive also said, even if it's the all-solid, referring to the next generation battery type, you're not going to deliver the kind of performance expected out of a GTR. Which here you can see some nice other pictures of the Nissan. It's kind of look cool. Now, let's say he elaborated that the upcoming next generation battery technology, noting it might be around the corner for electric cars. You could do some cruising around the country club, but ultimately a raw GTR as an electric car, that's really quite a ways away. Now, they continue saying, quote, hybrid or plug-in hybrid GTR still to be determined, but ideally a plug-in. Jeez. Here's the He said, quote, we're going to have a certain level of electrification here. The executive said solid-state batteries will be a key enabler to make that happen, unquote. The reason is heat management and energy density. They made use cases for the next GTR being hybrid or plug-in hybrid. The decision isn't locked into the unknowns of tomorrow's battery technologies, but he likes the idea of a plug-in hybrid. With today's tech, though, a conventional hybrid makes more sense on the track. I would say none of it makes sense on the track, but that's just me. He says, quote, think about plug-in hybrid with today's technology is that you can do 2 or 3 laps at the Nürburgring and you're running out of juice. Then the car's not really working or at full power. The VP added that a plug-in hybrid necessitates a lot of additional weight due to larger battery packs. Unquote. Which kind of hybrid GTR ends up will be determined by what kind of performance solid-state batteries deliver in reality, according to Penn. He says, quote, we know that thermal management is going to be really good with solid-state batteries. If I was given an ideal, I'd like a GTR that I can drive, say, 70 miles or so, all electric range, putzing around town. The executive noted it would be his architectural wish list, but it could mean the GTR could be driven up on pure electricity. For all 13 people who want that. Now, they say that they will have a turbo gas engine with over 600 horsepower. He says, so, I mean, there's some silver lining to that. So we'll see. And again, the big issue is, will Nissan even be around in 3 to 5 years too? I mean, they're basically begging for Honda to buy them out or merge. Well, let's be honest, Honda's doing a hell of a lot better than Nissan. They're technically still in business, but yeah, it's good news that the GTR will come back, but I mean, will the business be around by then? And also, how many people want a hybrid GTR? There are some people out there, some, but if you want a pure track toy or a Godzilla, do you really want a hybrid? Do you want to deal with the cost replacement complexities of those batteries, those architectures, especially when so many people love to customize it? I mean, the aftermarket for the GTR is nearly unlimited compared to maybe the Honda Civic or the AR-15 in terms of aftermarket parts, accessory, and support. I mean, there's pretty much unlimited ways to customize them. That's going to be a pain in the rear, all that hybrid crap. But we'll see. Let me know in the comments because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the cultural part podcast, you have Matt Walsh having 2 reactions to the Karmelo Anthony speaker when they were at the presser conference, saying that the victim's dad being there was disrespectful. Now, many would argue that Karmelo Anthony allegedly stabbing someone to death, that would probably be more disrespectful, but that's just my 3 cents. Now, Matt Walsh actually has 2 posts. One of the first ones, he actually does include the video of this. This is the spokesperson for the family, as they raise near $1 million now.
And all I'm going to say, so it don't be asked later.
I don't think that's proper grammar, but nevertheless.
Is that was disrespectful and just shows you all the character who is not invited. He knows that is inappropriate to be.
So he went somewhere he was not invited, and guess what he did? The dad peacefully left. He didn't stab anyone. Quite a difference in behavior.
Be near this family. But he did it. And so I say to people, actions speak louder than words.
Like stabbing someone. I agree.
Okay?
Okay.
What he has failed into is the political operatives that want to make this thing a political thing of hate, yet bigotry, and yet racism. We have conservative operatives that have been posting non-stop about this case.
People posting the news? Heaven forbid.
And all I'm going to say, so it don't be asked later.
That's not proper English either.
That was disrespectful and just...
Yeah, now, this was actually responding to End Wokeness, and End Wokeness said, quote, Karmelo Anthony presser starts by attacking Austin Metcalf's dead is disrespectful for coming here. Now, Matt Walsh said, quote, his son was stabbed to death. I'd say that's pretty, quote unquote, disrespectful. You scum, unquote. And Matt went viral, to say the least. Hashtag Sweet Baby Gang. Getting 5.2 million views and 115,000 likes. Could we be the one to make 116? No, but we did like it nevertheless. One of the first comments is coming to us thanks to Paul Zupa saying, quote, this minister is a criminal. What do you expect? Getting 308 likes, actually. Scrolling down more and more. You have, wow, 1,000 likes for this? Mirthful Moments says, do you agree? And it's someone by the general saying, quote, are we going to fight for our children or keep allowing this? And it says, Austin Metcalf, it says, White Lives Matter, getting 967 likes. Let's see here. He also says, he takes the life of a white kid. He openly admits it. He's praised by Black America. They raise over $500,000 for him. The judge slashes the bail from $1 million to $250,000. He walks free. This is pure injustice. Anti-racism, white racism is real. Getting 1,000 likes. Now, again, he says he walks free. He got bail, so he walked out. The trial's still going to be coming up. Burt Macklin says, quote, pretty wild that they are trying to portray the attacker as a victim. Getting 3.4 thousand likes. True. Mr. Pitbull. I don't say this is a alleged Pitbull. I don't think it's a rapper, although maybe these days he has a lot of time in his hand. I mean, when was the last time he had a good hit? I think it was back when I was in college. But nevertheless, this alleged Mr. Pitbull says, quote, if a Muslim is attacked, it's Islamophobia. If a Jewish person is attacked, it's anti-Semitism. If a black person is attacked, it's racism. If a trans person is attacked, it's transphobia. But if a white person is attacked, it's just another day that ends in Y. Funny how that works. Double standards doesn't bring justice. They destroy it. Getting 1.2 thousand likes. Masculine Base says exactly his son's in the grave, and they're whining about a press conference seat. Pure evil hiding behind fake victimhood. Getting 1,000 likes. Mark simply has a memorial picture of Austin Metcalf, getting 339 likes. Retard takes. Hashtag R word takes. Says shameful. It says actions speak louder than words. And the guy says, yeah, murder is a pretty loud voice. Getting 772 likes. Let's see. You also have David Santa Clara saying, quote, why does everyone pretend like they're not this way? This is their modus operandi. I'm definitely butchering that one, not intentionally. Commit horrific crime, collective payday, play the victim. Getting 2.8 thousand likes, which when he says their manias, I don't think it's indicative of all, well, my 3 cents. I don't think it's all of a certain group of people. Chris Palmer says, why do you hate black people, Matt? Getting 92 likes. A contrarian statement. He got the most responses, 187. We're going to see who responded to him. One of the first comments is from Jay North says, why are you stupid, Chris? Getting 45 likes. Let's see. America Rising says, because of all the harm and damage they've done to my race and country, getting 24 likes. Mom Doer says, oh, geez, the profile's name is actually Mom Doer 69. I was going to say, what is this, middle school? Maybe. Now it says, this person says, quote, it would be a much shorter list if we just said what we like. Getting 38 likes. Going back to the main comments, you have Chris Palmer said, oh no, sorry, I said that. Let's see here. McClinney says, I don't want to hear about white privilege again, getting 218 likes. Jim Mindiarty says, quote, you know what's disrespectful? Karmelo Anthony stabbing Austin Metcalf in cold blood and then making over $400,000 of playing victim, getting 439 likes, which, yeah, pretty crazy working. Well, shoot. How many of us are working, 40, 50, 60, 100 hours a week? And this guy apparently just stabbed someone and made, what was it? Almost $1 million? Jeez Louise. Jumio says, quote, this is thanks to Austin Metcalf's father. This is thanks to Austin Metcalf's father gets for defending his son's murder. No good deed goes unpunished. These are disgraceful, unashamed, soulless people, getting 1.1 thousand likes. Rooster says, why do we even have men like this in our country? How is he able to stand there and say such things without repercussions? Getting 100 likes. Now, going to Matt's other comments. Now, this is just another specific post about the same concept. But Matt posted, quote, I can't get over this. Karmelo Anthony's family held a press conference where they attacked the father of the boy who their son killed. I mean, it's just cartoonishly evil. These people are absolute scumbags. My God. And that got 4 million views as well as 132,000 likes. One of Matt's most viral tweets of the year. Or do they call them posts anymore? I don't know what they call them, but tweets does sound cooler. But nevertheless, his post, whatever you call it. Now, Cash Loren said, quote, the Democrats are worse and worse in using their racism as a paper shield to gain 40 likes. One of the most popular ones comes to us thanks to Dominic Michael Trippi, saying the father of Austin Metcalf was kind and empathetic to the point of being widely ridiculed. He was still attacked, admonished, and removed by police at the request of Karmelo Anthony's family. Despite his efforts to make this non-racial, he proved that their deep anti-white hatred. Gained 4.9 thousand likes, which also shows what side the police are on in this instance. Now, granted, maybe they reserved the speaking hall, but yeah. Joseph Patton says, quote, anyone else notice how the Metcalf father was asked to leave and he didn't respond by stabbing someone to death? Getting 6.8 thousand likes. Yep. Grateful Calvin says, quote, Just waiting for Barack Obama to announce that if he had a son, he would look like Karmelo Anthony. Getting 1.2 thousand likes. Dead Man Red says, I'm starting to think there's something wrong with Black community. 731 likes. Let's see. Any other interesting contrarian statements? Brotherhood simply says, the only silver lining would be if this is the event that finally snaps whites out of the support for the stupor of their stupor that matters on matters of race, getting 2.4 thousand likes. Let's see. The conservative alternative says Carmelo's advocate is a straight up criminal too. This is the gentleman who suited up and was speaking. And it says, quote, and again, this is, they're not giving URLs or they're not giving any links to like specific like news coverage of these incidents. So feel free to fact check me in the comments. Allegedly felon injury to a child, 2009. Forging a check, post 2009. Leading police on a high-speed chase, 2009. Stealing a car, 2009. Or these are all post 2009. Falsely claiming a car was stolen, post 2009. Offensive physical contact, 2015. Probation violations, 2016. Felony theft of property, 2016. Wow, 2,500 to 30 grand. Felony assault, serious bodily injury, 2019. Misdemeanor assault, 2019. Continuous violence against the family, 2019. Theft, making a false report, evading arrest. That got 599 likes. Let's see here. Again, I don't think this... People keep... let's see here. The Ghost Frank says 100K more races created today by that family gang. 680 likes, which, again, I actually agree with the follower. I don't think they should be devolved into a race issue. I mean, it seems to be, as I read most of the comments, they are becoming more and more race related. In terms of this being a hate crime, there's still no evidence of that. In terms of, I mean, we'll see if Karmelo Anthony, if the confrontation was specifically about race with the evidence that we currently have, and again, it might change by tomorrow, but still very much, allegedly, Karmelo Anthony went to this Austin Metcalf's tent, wouldn't leave, and stabbed Austin to death, allegedly. So it wasn't necessarily because he did it because of the race of Austin. We'll find out in court. Maybe there's some tweet, maybe there's some data that signifies that, but a lot of people are saying this is going to be charged as a hate crime. We'll see, but again, with the current evidence we have, I don't think it will, but let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, you have a person walking right past a stabbed victim as they film and drink Starbucks, which further highlights the cultural decay of the United States, where, I mean, not only is it evil that this person, well, you could argue evil versus negligent versus heartless, but not only do they walk right past someone who is in pain and suffering, but they film it while drinking a Starbucks, which is just an overpriced candy bar in a cup. But yeah, I don't know if that adds insult to injury, but this went pretty viral. Now, this contains graphic content that they did censor the more graphic parts. Just a little heads up here. I'll try to keep the comments still family appropriate, so to say. Now, this is brought to us thanks to NWokeness on X. And he says, quote, casually walking right past a girl soaked in blood while sipping a Starbucks latte and filming, I'm totally lost for words. Again, if you have, it's censored, but still, cover their eyes if you have kiddos watching. And here you can see, let's see if there's volume to this. And apparently it's a female on the ground in pain. What a piece of what a piece of shit. Pardon the French. But, wow. So literally just walking past, drinking Starbucks, and they film someone who's on the ground with visible blood and physical injuries. That's how far the United States has declined. Now, a lot of people will speculate, well, there may be instances where people get sued for intervening. Thankfully, there have been laws that actually protect people. The specific law eludes me at the moment, but that was an issue for several years. If you try to help someone and you actually, in that attempt, hurt them, they would sue you back. They would actually sue you for that. And again, it eludes me at the moment, but there are many instances in many states where you are now protected, where as long as, again, you had the good heart and you're trying to authentically help someone, you're not going to get sued for that. So that's been resolved in many cases, but I know some people who just still hesitate to help others because of that, as abhorrent and horrifying as that is. Now, again, this went viral, got 2 million views as well as 16,000 likes. One of the first comments is brought to us thanks to Feminology. Hey, is she back on? And she simply has a screenshot. It looks like A gal's hand holding the Starbucks, which, I mean, that's such overpriced candy in a cup. And I don't know if this is intentional, but it looks like the hand is flipping off the camera. They're holding the cups that their middle finger's the longest. I don't know if that is intentional, but the screenshot also showed it was posted maybe by someone by the name of Salty Girl. It got 47 likes. Mr. Pitbull, busy yet again. Maybe his music career is over. He's just tweeting these days. Now he says, quote, "This video really says it all. Someone casually strolling past a young woman bleeding on the ground, Starbucks in hand like it's just another day. If that doesn't scream mental health crisis in this country, I don't know what does. We're absolutely cooked." Getting 1.9 thousand likes. And yeah, we're in deep trouble if you don't. I mean, Jesus, can't. Now, I don't know. Let me know in the comments what's more horrifying, the fact that they did nothing, or the fact that they filmed this whole thing and posted it online for people to see. Like, so it's like a sneaky thing. Like, this person has no shame. It's disgusting. You have someone by the name of Retard It Takes saying, quote, "Guns aren't the problem, psychotic people are the problem." Gave him 3.4 thousand likes. You also have Tim Watley. That's Seinfeld parody. I think it is. And he says, quote, you're stopping and helping. You're stopping and helping during gunshots, getting 54 likes, which I would say, I mean, that's when heroes are made. This person's casually walking. They're not exactly running. Again, I know there's been incidents, but this person isn't exactly running for their life. They're strolling by. Hellkite Byron says, quote, "To all the fence-sitting moderate whites in the replies, this is how most, if not 99% of blacks feel about you. This is how they will always treat you when you're in the grave peril or dying." Getting Jesus, I got 3.1 thousand likes. Yeah, definitely. I definitely don't like nor agree with that sentiment. Now, 100 people actually responded. I'm curious if they were ratioed. Hayden says the guy who shot her was white, but that's still black people's fault. 146 likes. Time Traveler from the past says, "You're what's wrong with society." So they weren't ratioed by the number of likes, but it looks like most of the comments are ratioing that person. Danny Vanguard, a lot of people just posting the screenshot of the hand. Getting 531 likes. And let's see. You also have Western Man says, "Geez, a lot of these are making race. That's how most black people are taught to feel about whites in their African studies program. They're useless universities." Getting 1.4 thousand likes. I guess comments seem to be leaning into the race issue or making it a topic of conversation. The hand you can see in the video is an African American hand. Tony Rigatoni, are they half these names just parodies? He says, quote, "Black people won't even stop to help you when you're bleeding out from a gunshot. Remember this." Game 1.4 thousand likes, which absolutely not true. Well, anecdotally, I have some great people in my life who are also African American. I know we would help each other if shit went down. Let's see. Ryan Foster says, "Absolute disgrace of a human. I hate this generation." Getting 225 likes. I'm actually surprised more people are not making that point in content. Now, again, I would just guess because the hand is not overly wrinkly. I would guess this person is younger. It's also apparently college campus. But yeah, I think that's something we've seen in terms of disassociation from, helping our fellow man. It used to be very much a thing with our great-grandparents, the older generations. I think that's a variable that not a lot of people talk about in terms of cultural demise and culture shifts in the United States. Let's see. Scrolling down and see if there's any contrarian comments. Not too many. They just keep on making it race related, unfortunately. Omarion says, quote, "Degenerates like this first filming are the first that should have been deported from this country." Getting 4 likes. Jesus. Amniotic Fiddles simply just has a screenshot of Michael Richards from Laugh Factory, which that is I don't say that's was it a timed joke or that's a throwback. That controversy was over a decade ago. I think at this point that got 8 likes. So it's tragic to see just people have such disregard for this fellow man. And let me know in the comments, do you think this is a generational thing? Do you think race is a component of it? Let me know your feedback, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part podcast, you have the White House correcting the New York Times and going viral with saying that the gang members are not coming back. Now, this comes with thanks to the good old White House X account. And they say, quote, "Fixed it for you, New York Times. Oh, and by the way, Chris Van Hollen, he's not coming back." And the New York Times original headline was, quote, "Senator meets with wrongly deported Maryland man in El Salvador." Now, the White House says akin to Microsoft Paint, so it's on my level of editing. I appreciate that. And they changed it to say that, quote, "White House meets with," they delete the term wrongly, deported M13 illegal alien in El Salvador who's never coming back. And that got 8 million views and 73,000 likes. So not the best like to view ratio, but went viral to say the least. One of the first comments is from Harry Sisson. I think I follow him. I mean, Harry Sisson is awesome in terms of pretty much any biological man that compares to Harry Sisson seems like Chuck Norris or Arnold Schwarzenegger in comparison, morality and physically. Now, Harry Sisson, who's a radical leftist, and I mean, obviously, I try to follow as many people left, right, middle as possible, so life isn't as a boring echo chamber. Harry Sisson says, quote, didn't Trump administration admit in court that they wrongly deported Kimar Abriago Garcia? Got 1.9 thousand likes and some of the most popular or highest number of responses. Scott responded saying, quote, and he's never coming back. Both can be true. Getting 62 likes. Let's see. I don't think he was actually ratioed, though. Let's see. Sparky says, you idiot who was summarily fired. William Penn says, they did it for being Train de Agua. I'm kidding, that's a rudimentary gang name. Talk about bad marketing. Is an M13 gang member, so they did the right thing. You also have Keith Oldman says, quote, he comes back, you go, getting 266 likes. Hey, this is interesting. I need to follow the White House page more often. It's actually, I think overall going to be a 50-50 ratio of people on the left versus right, and maybe a little bit of libertarian sprinkled into the comment section in terms of number of comments proportion. You also have, what is it, radical gun grabber David Hogg saying, quote, you're lying and you know it, getting 1.3 thousand likes. As well as, wow, he got 182 responses. Gene says, quote, yes, the New York Times is lying and everyone knows it, getting 54 likes. Let's make it 55. Or, sorry, 53 likes. Make it 54. Let's see here. A lot of people just showing screenshots of gang members being deported. Oh, that's interesting, says. It says 182 replies, but it's only showing 3? Or if I click the button that says show the sensitive stuff. What's going on with UX? Cash the Run says, our side needs to do more about this, fighting back against the Democrats' narrative, getting 293 likes. America Pop Bear says, quote, who runs this account? I love him, getting 716 likes. Libercat Media Tam says, quote, I mean, MS-13 is right on Garcia's fingers, FFS. And thanks to the Urban Dictionary, I now know that to mean, cover your ears, you have children listening, for F's sake. Learning new things every day. Well, try to. They got 1.1 thousand likes. Cat Turd Simply Laughed, getting 1.3 thousand likes. Paul Zupa says, thanks for fixing this, getting 202 likes, rather. Ooh, another contrarian statement. Timothy Bellman says, quote, this is the most anti-American White House in our history. Y'all hate America and our ideals. That's hilarious considering the people who supports are the people who want to censor everyone, take their guns away, and most of their rights. But yeah, Trump is anti-American. But then again, he got 6,000 likes. That's about 5,997 more likes than I usually get my videos. And he also got 203 responses. A lot of people are just taking the screenshot of, yeah, the gang tattoos on the guy. Mario says, our ideals, responding to him, you Democrats fight for immigrant criminals more than you do Americans. You can't see a damn thing about our ideals. You Democrats don't have an ounce of morality or objective integrity in you. Over there trying to make things all people say. Getting 34 likes. Yeah. How many of our tax dollars was it? What was it? FEMA spent $640 million on illegals last year. While people struggle to pay rent, keep their head above water. Yeah. We also have Arquil Bloss. Do I follow her? Not yet, but I will because she's a lefty, so more contrarian statements about her. She says, quote, this account is an embarrassment. You've already admitted he was deported in error. Game 8,000 likes. Colonel Maga Mark says, quote, look, cat piss mama and those crazy eyes, left wing loon eyes is back. Which, I mean, she does look exactly like you would think, getting 93 likes, although she does not have short blue or purple hair. So that is interesting. TTL says, quote, white leftist women are the most delusional creatures on the planet, getting 256 likes. Alexandria Spears says, quote, he wasn't here legally. Out he goes. Simple as that, getting 108 likes. Art Candy, she's back. Although, I don't know, her profile is definitely not Art, and her name is allegedly Candy, but it's not spelled right. Candee, with a picture of popcorn, and then it looks like a cup of water emoji with a straw, which, unless you have a physical disability, why would you drink water with a straw? That's weird. Also, popcorn is not candy. I mean, it's certainly not good for you, but it's not candy. but her name is spelled Candy. That's ridiculous. Almost as ridiculous as a name like Topping. Oh, wait, but I partially digress. She says, quote, can't wait for Trump administration to be held in contempt. 8.2 thousand likes. Now, JFC says, why do you want a violent thug to be allowed illegally into the country in the first place? Getting 140 likes. Scrolling down more and more. Loom says they made the White House childish, getting 46 likes. A lot of people having memes of, was it Donald Duck drinking a can called Liberal Tears? You also have Tabitha says, does a child run the White House page? You represent the entire country. Getting 4.6 thousand likes. Bear Armstead says, can Val Swole stay in El Salvador? We don't need him either. Getting 467 likes. Donna says the Dems don't want to lose their gang member friends. It's a AI generating picture of MS-13 votes blue t-shirts on a bunch of gang members and a Democrat getting 230, or Democrat leader. I think that's supposed to be Chuck Schumer, maybe? The AI is weird. It got 231 likes. So actually, I think the White House is technically ratioed by number of likes or number of negative comments in this. Interesting. But yeah, it is interesting how much resource allocation goes to people who broke into the United States. And let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have the UK police telling a citizen that saying speaking English is possibly a hate crime over there, as their rudimentary totalitarian country becomes more and more of a joke, and they're invaded, and they're weak, pathetic, and useless as they arrest people for memes and disarm law-abiding citizens, forcing them to be victims. Let's just say there's yet another reason not to visit there, as if you needed one. Now here, this is brought to us thanks to End Wokeness, who says, quote, it's now a hate crime to say speak English in England, which, yeah, it's a weak, conquered country. Although, I think I would argue that's probably what the politicians wanted all along. Now, here you have a police officer talking to a seated citizen.
If you do, that would be really handy for us. But apparently, during some conversations between yourself, apparently you have alleged, we weren't here, so I don't know you said it, but you've alleged to say speak English. Or was that effect?
Speak clearly.
Speak clearly.
No,
okay.
the gentleman's partially deaf.
Yeah, he can speak clearly.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even hear him.
No, and that's fine, and that's why we've just come to speak, because potentially someone could perceive that as a hate crime.
Did we just know this was going to happen?
No, I know.
People, you know, if someone says to me, officer, I believe this, then we need to look at it, because someone's potentially reporting to me as a hate crime. If you
How weak and pathetic and conquered the UK has become. Hey, citizens of the UK, why don't you grow up here? Vote differently. Peacefully protest. They arrest people for memes, for Christ's sake. Yeah, we can't help but think it's not a coincidence all these governments made sure they disarmed their citizens before they took away their freedom of speech. Now, this should have gone more viral. Maybe it's not, because everyone knows the UK is a weak, conquered area. Got about 500,000 views as well as 13,000 likes. One of the first comments comes to us thanks to Retard Finder, hashtag I find retards. He says, quote, England is gone, getting 4.8 thousand likes. Yep. Arthur Eagleman says, quote, the UK has gone full communist, getting 311 likes. Paul Zupa says, soon it will be a crime in England to be English in England, or is it already? Getting 179 likes. They also, remember, what was this, a couple months ago? You had a English or policeman in England or the UK, and they had some citizens waving the Union Jack with the country's flag, and the illegals, or the immigrants, they actually were flying their country's flag, and the police went to the citizens of the UK and said, hey, we need you to take your flag down, you're upsetting the others, and they outnumber us. That's how weak and pathetic and conquered the UK is. You also have the comedian says, quote, your tweet was offensive to illegals. And it's got 514 likes. Western Decline says, quote, Americans protect your First Amendment at all cost. There's a meme of the British flag says, quote, Britain, the only country which imports its enemies, then calls you racist if you disagree with it, getting 187 likes. Well, that's not true. A lot of countries are doing that, actually. Stephen Legacy says, quote, Europe, it's a quote from Marcus Cicerio, saying, quote, the closer the collapse of an empire, the crazier its laws, getting 437 likes, which would explain something. Take This Viral says, come on, we know you can do it, save yourselves. It says, make Britain great again. Can they? They seem to have liked being conquered and weak. Let's see. Someone has a screenshot of a person passing by looking like, what the hell's going on here? They got 242 likes. Cluckling says, quote, this is why you don't let them take your guns. Getting 75, let's make it 76 likes. Yeah. Never forget how close we came to this in the United States. We had Tim Walz saying, hate speech is not protected. And remember, hate speech is just speech that they hate. Because yeah, it's the controversial stuff that needs protecting the most, even if you don't agree with it, because they ban that, they will ban it all. As we've seen time and time again throughout history, they really need to have people reading 1984 by George Orwell or Animal Farm by George Orwell if you want something a little bit shorter and easier to read in terms of vernacular, and still get the same concepts, but a lot shorter book and simpler language. Let's see here. Scrolling down more and more. Not seeing any contrarian comments thus far. Michael Williamson says, quote, so asking Muslims to go home is out of the question, huh? Getting 10 likes. John says, oh, look, footage of an East Berlin Sazi must be remastered. Getting 2 likes as well. Well, here's another top one. Paul Leclerc says, quote, if I didn't know any better, I would say this is Monty Python skit getting 8 likes. Yeah, that's probably kind of how the UK is perceived these days. It's a Monty Python's. Yeah, it's hard to tell the difference between joking and reality these days. But yeah, do you think they'll ever have freedom of speech in the UK again, or Europe for that matter, or Canada? Never forget how fortunate, thank God, if you're listening to the United States, how lucky we are. Nothing more rare than the First Amendment or the Second Amendment. Most countries don't have them. That's why I usually make fun of them, because real countries have citizens. They have the rights. But let me know your thoughts, because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Fisher-Price recalling some of their children's toys because they pose a choking hazard. Now, this is brought to us thanks to the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission, which they say, quote, Fisher-Price recalls tissue box toy sold with Snag-a-Puppy activity centers due to a choking hazard. Which, I don't know who's naming these toys. Snug-a-Puppy? What? Which looks like it's one of those kid bouncy things. Like a table with a hole in the middle, you put the kid in. Then they presumably play with all the cheap plastic toys that are bolted onto that table. Although in this case, not bolted properly onto the table. Now, they say these are also called the Fisher 3-in-1 Snug-a-Puppy activity centers. So when I was a kid, you just had a box and you were damn happy with that. It could be anything. Imagination is a beautiful thing, but nevertheless. Now, the hazard is the detachable tissue box can come apart, exposing small support brackets, posing a choking hazard to young children. Whoops. It's affected 15,300 units, in addition to about 200 that were sold in Canada. And here you can see in the picture, they actually circled a little fake tissue box, which, ironically, a real tissue box would be less hazardous than this toy. Now, diving in, they also note that the activities, if you want to check the model number, the activities center's model number is HLV78, located on the underside of the table near the Fisher-Price logo. They say that the tissue box is white with red decorations. It has quote tissues made of sensory cloth and a black and white wiggly stripe pattern on the side, and yellow-green has raised spot patterns. They say consumers should immediately stop using the recalled tissue box toy, remove it from the activity center, keep it away from children, and contact Fisher-Price to receive a free replacement toy for the activity center. Consumers will be asked to mark the tissue box permanently with the word recall and the unique identifier mark X on the sensory cloth tissues. Upload a photo of the marked toy at https service.mattel.com/recall. Upon receipt of the replacement confirmation email, consumers should dispose of the recall product in the trash. For specific instructions on how to mark the box, go to that website as well. Now, unfortunately, there's there's been one incident of it coming apart but no injury. So thankfully, they got ahead of this recall. Now they say, quote, Fisher-Price has received one report of the tissue box coming apart and an infant placing a small support bracket in their mouth, but no injuries have been reported as of this time. So again, there's a silver lining there. These are sold at Walmart stores nationwide and online at Amazon.com, Walmart.com, and other websites from November 2022 and February 2025 for geez Louise. How are we supposed to save for kids' college fund, or well, college is mostly useless these days, a kid's long-term success, when you're paying $130 for this piece of crap for a plastic play center that they will inevitably grow out of in 6 months and throw in the trash? Or if you're British, a dustbin. Yeah, I can't but think. It is also funny here. It's funny that kids and pets, they have more fun with the box than the actual toy of themselves, but nevertheless, $130 for that is insane. Now, this recall number is also 25-216. They're manufactured in China, distributed by Fisher-Price Inc. of East Aurora, New York. And yeah, it's one of those things where, of all the things that you manufacture, kids' toys is probably one of the top things in terms of kids' toys, products, and foods. So one of the top things that are safety should be the utmost importance because, again, they're more fragile than adults and they're more vulnerable to types of injuries. And the fact that this, again, kids are pretty violent. They're going to topple this over, play around with it. The fact that this thing can just topple right off and leave exposed brackets, 3 hazardous. Gotta say, Fisher Price, you are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking time to tune in today. Again, try to get 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so you can click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.